Hello basketball coaches and basketball players, my name is Alan from House Basketball Training, and today I'm going to talk to you about some of the regrets that I have in my life, and that is not making YouTube videos when I was younger, because, well, YouTube wasn't really a thing when I was younger. So, number one was when we broke California state basketball records and lost huge in California against one of the best players I've ever played against. He scored 76 points on us. And then second was when I went down to the States for the NBA Development League training camp that I went down for at the Erie Bayhawks. Now, I wish I was able to document both of those trips, but of course back then YouTube wasn't exactly a huge thing. However, I'm going to talk to you about it today. And what I'm going to talk about today is basically the trip down to California and how we broke state records and how we absolutely got handed a big L to in our first game down there. Okay, so the biggest L that I've ever been handed to was against a player called Tyrone Shelley. He scored 76 points on us. It was a massive game for him. It was a pretty good game for me. It was actually basically what set up my basketball career, because going down there in it was grade 10 for me, basically set up a lot of schools looking at me as a player that might be interesting for them to play for me to play for. So basically in grade 10, we were playing in a tournament down in California. It was our high school. We kind of picked our best 10 players to go down there, and we got handed to. So best 10 players from senior and junior teams, total of 10 players, so basically 8 from senior, 2 from junior. And from there, we basically went down into a senior tournament against some of the top teams in California. Now, as a grade 10, I was still playing center, but when I got down there, that was my first time ever really playing guard at the time. And out of I think we scored 28 or 29 points. Out of those points, I scored 21 as a grade 10. Now, we lost by over 100 points. Tyrone Shelley scored 76 points in 3 quarters alone, which broke many state records. However, for you to be able to basically handle a game like that, you really need to take perspective. So I was playing majority of that game. I had been blocked many, many times from the three-point line. Up here in Canada, when we're taking three-point shots, we basically have a second or two to set up. And when I went down there, you don't have that much time. If you are about to take a three-point shot and you're known as a good three-point shooter, you're going to have many players running out on you to try and block your shot. And that's what we learned. Now, going over to Tyrone Shelley, he was a 6'8", 6'9" player. He was crowned as one of possibly the next LeBron James. He was a very good player. He tore his ACL roughly the same time as me, which ended his career as well as mine later on, many years later. I still have some contact with the guy as well, which is kind of cool. However, when I was down there, I got contacted afterwards by many coaches who actually seen the game and were surprised that I was only a grade 10 player able to score 21 points against one of the top teams in California. And that's basically what set up many, many different lines of contact with many different schools down in the States. Now moving over to playing against a player like Tyrone Shelley. He was about 6'8", 6'9". He was somewhere around that range. And if he was able to shoot the three-point shot, which was big for us because we've never really seen taller players be able to shoot consistently like he did. And then, to top things off, when we started to guard him closely, he would actually just drive right around us and dunk the ball. So this was a first for us. And it was very hard for us to defend a player like that, especially when we don't have any players who were as fast as him or any players that were as tall as him. So as a team, what we should have done was to sink back into a 2-3 zone and just basically cut off everything going towards the middle, give him a little bit of coverage out in the three-point line, but basically cut off his driving lanes. But we never did that. We stayed in man-to-man defense. Our coach was basically really well onto the man-to-man. He really needed to play it all the time. But there are some advantages to play a zone defense, and in that kind of situation, we would have been a lot better. Now, at the end of this video, I'm going to be posting just the slideshow of the news article that we were mentioned in. It was really an interesting read, so I hope that you get to read that at the end of this video. However, if you're in a situation as a player when you're getting absolutely murdered on the court, you need to take a step back and look at reality. And this is what I had to do roughly around halftime. I actually kind of did it at the end of the first quarter. I was the only person who scored for our team in the first quarter. And basically, you need to take a step back and say, okay, what is the reality of a game like this? Who are we playing? We're playing against a freaking fantastic team who is going to be probably having 4 or 5 players who are going to the NCAA University Division I level, and we will probably have 0, maybe 1. So there's a huge skill level difference, especially in age. We had one player grade 9, we had 2 players who were grade 10, and the rest were grade 11s and 12s. So going into a tournament in a game like that, we weren't really expecting that kind of an onslaught. However, what you need to do is take a step back as a player and say, what is the reality of this game? And then go from there. So the reality to us was we're going to get our asses kicked. But the reality to me was a lot different than it was for other players on my team. They just wanted the game to be over. They wanted the day to be over. They wanted to get back to the hotel, maybe go to the beach and have some fun. Because obviously when you lose by over 100 points, it takes a toll. But for me, how I looked at it was, if I play my game, if I keep on playing hard, I'm not going to be able to help my team win. We've lost already in the first quarter. But what I can do is be able to play my game and possibly get something out of it. Think of self-improvement for one. You can go into the game and say, okay, second quarter, we're going to get handed to this game. There's nothing I can do about it. However, if I can play exactly the way I need to play to be able to score my points, get the rebounds, get the steals, play the defense that I need to play, I'm going to be able to maybe slow down the onslaught of scoring, but I also might be able to gain some respect for myself. A lot of players will just kind of hide in the corner, and we had players who were like, "No, coach, I don't want to play today. I'm good. I'm going to sit down," which some players will just hide away, but you've got to think to yourself, how can I make this situation better? So how I went into it was, I'm going to go out, I'm going to score what I need to score, and I'm going to be playing at 120% because obviously we're getting our asses handed to us. So coming into the second quarter, basically I came in saying, okay, I think at that point I had 2-3 points, something like that. We didn't score a lot in the first quarter. I scored all but 2 points, I think, in the second quarter. But going into the rest of that game, I just thought, if I try my hardest, I'm going to gain some respect from all the other players from the other team. There's other teams here watching our game as well, so I'm going to be gaining the respect of them. But also, you never know. When you're playing against top teams, you never know who's going to be watching, and that's exactly what happened. I had 4 universities who were watching that game who were really curious about a team from Canada coming down who have underage players playing at a senior level. And I was able to garner their respect and got lots of contact with them, and basically eventually led to my pro career. Now, as a coach, you need to take a little bit different of a stance. You're going to need to sit down, possibly, well, you can stand up, I really don't care, but you need to come down and be like, okay, we're going to get our asses handed to us this game, but what can I do to make my team better? First off is to still congratulate your team. You can't be sitting down and doing absolutely nothing, being like, oh, woe is me. You need to keep on running your game plan. You're going to have games where you get absolutely murdered. If you're a coach who coaches for more than a couple of seasons, you're going to have at least one game in your life that's going to be just a total blowout. And you need to keep on coaching the normal way you would normally coaching. And then you also have to go in and say, maybe we can change things up a bit. Maybe I can experiment with certain players. Will this player work better with this player, or whatever it may be? Now, what you can also do is still correct your team. That's the one thing that our coach really did well, was I had 3 possessions in a row where I was jacking up 3-point shots. I hit 2 of 3, and then I came back down, and I had basically, I should have just done a shot fake, and I didn't, and I got my shot blocked. And then I got my shot blocked again, and then I got my shot blocked again and again. It was like 4 or 5 times in a row, because now they know I can shoot the shot. So now my coach actually pulled me to the side and said, you have an okay shot. You need to shoot that shot quicker. These guys are a lot faster. They've known now they know that you can shoot that shot. You need to get that shot off quicker. And that was something new to me, and that's something that I worked on the rest of that game as well. And I got one more 3-point shot the rest of that game, but just you have to take a step back and really think of the bigger picture. How can I gain respect? How can I get my players or myself better? And things like that. Now, I hope that you've enjoyed today's video. If you have, hit that like button, subscribe. And here is the news article about that game.